Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Zoom at 8. My name is Julianne Peterson, and I am your host every Tuesday night for Zoom at 8. We've been doing this for over 5 years. We've had so many speakers. 3 weeks out of the month, we have speakers typically, and then 1 week out of the month, we're doing networking. So all the time is networking. So it's a great place to learn, great place to meet new people. Maybe it's going to be your next partner is going to be met here at Zoom at 8. So I am a lender with Old Capital Lending. We've been closing loans for over 38 years. That's 8,000 loans. That's a lot of loans. And we are specialists in multifamily. So you're in the right place. But if you're looking at a deal that's not in multifamily, we will do that as well. We'll do any mobile home parks, industrial storage, any of those. We don't do really anything with oil and gas, but any of the other ones, happy to take a look at it. If you've underwritten a deal and it still works. Not a lot of people can say that. And you've got the return metrics that work for your clients, for your investors, or maybe it's just you. We can underwrite the deal. It takes us 48 hours. We'll look for your T12, your rent roll, the offering memorandum, if there is one, and we'll learn more about that today. And then your underwriting model, and we'll look for where's the lender going to come in on proceeds. I would start about 65% today. However, with the interest rates going down, we're seeing more and more deals working. And we're seeing more leverage. We are excited about tonight because we have, he's become kind of a friend to me. Kyle Chase is in the house tonight. Kyle is your sales broker, right? He is going to help you take down deals. He is in the Carolina. So I met Kyle probably 4 or 5 years ago. And Kyle has over $2 billion worth of transaction experience in his 10 years of being in the multifamily industry. His experiences include both investments and brokering institutional and private capital multifamily assets. Kyle previously worked at Greystar and Cushman Wakefield before founding his own company, Chase and Company, in 2021. A tough time, which we'll talk about in COVID. At Chase and Company, they help people maximize their investments as they can enjoy the future they desire. That is what we're looking for. He's located in Charlotte. Chase is dedicated to real estate investment sales brokerage firm, and their core focus is on assisting clients with the disposition of multifamily properties across the great state of North Carolina and South Carolina. Kyle enjoys spending time with his wife, 2 young daughters, and an English lab, playing outside, enjoying the Asheville Mountains. Boy, oh boy, you've had some changes over the last week or so. And he likes relaxing on the beach in Charleston. He also enjoys playing golf in his little bit of free time. So I want to welcome Kyle Chase to Zoom at 8. How are you?
Hey, doing well, Julie. Thank you for that introduction.
Absolutely. It's great to have you in the house. It's not often that we get to spend time with an investment brokerage firm, especially like you. It's been a tough couple years. So 10 years in the business, that puts us at 2014. Tell us a little bit how you started in 2014. What did you see in the market? And then we're going to walk to where we are today. So tell us about the market in 2014.
Yeah. Man, I got actually a multifamily back in 2012. Worked at Greystar down in Charleston, corporate headquarters, doing kind of investment development work. And then wanted to change, didn't like the corporate world, and found got an opportunity in brokerage. And at that time, I remember several deals, but there's been a couple that, we were valuing and sold, and we sold for 50, 60, 70,000 a unit.
Mm.
Most of those have since transacted several times, and some of them over 200,000 a unit.
Amazing.
So, at that time, we were kind of getting off the tail of the, I guess, great financial recession back in 08, 09, and, values went up significantly since then, but people were like, hey, how much more can they go up? How much more can they go up?
Mm.
And I feel like that question kept being asked every year from 15, 16, 17. And even 19, we were thinking, okay, this is it, right? This is
Yeah.
it. Because things were getting tight, underwriting was getting tight. And then when COVID happened, it just lit, putting this, gasoline on a fire that is already going, and definitely got exploded. I think, and we can talk more about that here a little bit. Back in, by what, 22 into 22, beginning of 23, it just kind of killed when interest rates started rising so quickly. It really killed the market.
What a great time to open up your own brokerage
But
firm, though.
yeah,
2021.
yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing, right? So during that time when things were good,
Yeah.
started at a small firm, got acquired, moved up to Charlotte from Charleston, and um, it- I moved up here just because down Charleston, have to go travel 3, 4, 5 hours to a lot of the markets here in the Carolinas, and it was kind of tiresome. And here in Charlotte, which, grateful it's already a big market, but I can be in 90% of the Carolinas within 2.5, 3 hours at most. It's just a central hub. And so that was just good, I guess, a little bit of work-life balance, as much as I can call it that. But yeah, and then, got an opportunity to join Cushman Wakefield and did institutional investment deals with them for a year and a half or so. I'm not gonna give specifics, but it was good
So,
to do those. But
so
I kind of really realized that I really like the private capital, sub-institutional space a lot more. It matters more to clients, quite frankly,
so
the institutional, realm.
can you
And so just figured it was the time to start my own business, and had some great clients that really almost, I'll say, provide the seed capital, but really provide the seed deals, the first couple of deals for me to get started. And it's been a wild ride for the last, 3, almost 4 years now.
Amazing. So let's go back just a second, because there's people that don't understand when you say institutional. So
Yeah.
what can you unpack that for the folks in the room?
Yeah. I mean, there's no like hard cutoff, right? But a lot of times I would say it's the 30 million plus space. You're dealing with, the likes of Greystar, but a lot of the equities, JV equity, Wall Street money, I would say. So, those buyers and those investors are partnering up with, um, you know, uh, big banks, or, a fund,
Mhm.
pension funds, or very high net worth family offices, and they need to just push out not a couple million even at a time, but they need to be no, push out 20, $40 million at any given time, if not higher. And so there's
Mm.
clients that I had that they would have looked at any deal under 100 million. Um,
Mm.
but it's a different space, different world. Um, but when you do those kind of deals and you have people that, I guess, more employees, and it's not their money and all
Mm.
that, I felt like it was more of a job for a lot of people, in myself included. And so I didn't feel like there was enough passion there for as much as I like, where I feel like when people are investing for themselves, or, their family, friends,
Mhm.
it matters more.
Yeah.
They see the bottom line more, because for them, what's an extra, 3, 4, 5% return on a deal? They doesn't really matter to them, really, as much as someone that if their own money's in the deal and they can go make a lot more money.
Yeah, it's a couple more zeros than what you're used to. In let's say, what the deals that you're looking at today. So, and it seems to me it's a little bit more stale. It doesn't have the passion, like you say. I do like the way that you mentioned that. So in 2014, you were working with any education programs? Were you getting the new influence of the education programs that you would, be able to help people, or is that really came after?
So I think I would say I was grateful to be to have worked at Greystar, which is an institution, one of the largest, maybe now the largest multifamily, investment firm, development firm, property management firm out there. So I got to see firsthand, day in, day out, a lot of things. With that said, I did go to a lot of conferences, read a lot of books, probably a lot that you read, right? The Rich Dad Poor Dad really, got to me back in the day, really got me into real estate in general. The some of a lot of the conferences you go to, I'm blanking on a lot of them right now, but like Jake and Gino, I knew
Yeah,
I met
that's where we
them
met, I
before they even
think.
got big.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's where we met. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And so then there's like, what is it, the real estate radio guy or the real estate
Yeah.
guys radio?
Yeah.
I went to one of those conferences. And so it was more about just, I wanted to get out there and network, wanted to learn as much as I possibly could. David Lindahl has several books and okay, well, I'm not at home. If I was at home, you would see a bookcase wall to wall of a ton of books. Before kids, I had a lot of I'll say free time, but yeah, I had a lot of free time when I wasn't working and I just read, consumed information. And that really, I think, helped propel a lot of that. But then also, again, networking conferences, as much as I could absorb while I could, or, still
Yeah,
do
and
a lot, but
and did you find that you found your clientele through some of those vehicles? Which I think, what I'm trying to say is it is important for people that are in multifamily because Kyle Chase or somebody similar will be there, and it's
ab-
important for you to go. So, Kyle, what do you say?
absolutely. And I know we were talking about is during COVID, really the last 4 years, right before COVID happened, had my first kid.
Mm,
COVID happened. Then all of a sudden I said, you know what? I want to start my own company. Started my own company, had my second kid. Um, it's been a lot of adjustments during really, 2020 to 2023 and just now kind of getting back into it. But if I'm not going, a lot of the brokers on the team are going, I'm meeting people. Um, and so I've been kind of a little bit more local than I'd like to in the last 2 to 3 years, but I
mhm.
I do absolutely go to those just because you never know who I can meet or you can meet. And it's those connections. I mean, there's a Rolodex, a long list. I can't tell you how many, right? Where
Yeah.
like me and you, we met at a conference and we just kind of always connected. And there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the day in the life of a broker, because I think it's really important. If you're new to the multifamily and you're trying to figure out how do I build a relationship with a broker, it's great because you own your own company, Kyle, and you're one of a kind in that way. Instead of the big brokerage firms, people are really relying on your expertise and what you're going to bring to the transaction. But for somebody who is new, I would love for you to unpack three, four, five things that are most important that you hear from an investor. What do you want to hear from them that share about them? Where are they looking? How you can help them? That really gives you a sense of credibility about them.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear and what don't you want to hear?
So I may be one of the rare exceptions where I value honesty. Like I sometimes
Mm,
I like when I hear someone just straight out tell me, listen, I'm new. I'm learning. And all of a sudden we kind of go, it's like, oh, okay, listen, you admitted it. I can at least we can start on the same page and then we can build from there versus someone that kind of I think starts and kind of pretends and doesn't admit it. And, I can pick holes real quick. And even some of the guys that started with me and just got in the brokerage space, within a year, they already know, like they know they can pick holes immediately. So as much as you think you can think you're faking us, we know because we have a lot of conversations, and we can sniff it out. So the things, I think honesty is very important, at least to me. I really value it. But just get on the same, I guess, page. Secondly, what I'll tell you, what I see people that are successful and, are able to get that first deal and then turn that first deal into their number 10 plus deal in the market is almost a laser like focus on what they're wanting to acquire or invest in. When I get on a phone call and I have a guy or a lady, anyone that tells me, oh yeah, we're looking for multifamily in the Carolinas. And I go, okay, what markets? All of them. Okay, well, what deal size? Just anything, 10 plus units. I kind of go like, I don't know where to begin, and I don't know what you're going to be interested in. They don't really give me like a parameter or a box I can kind of put you in
Specifics.
and really help
Yeah.
out. And especially in the last 2 years, I'm sure we may get to it. There's been a lot of off market deals, and we keep a lot of these close to our vest and our chest, because we don't, especially the first. I mean, quite frankly, it takes sometimes 5 calls for me to really trust someone to really kind of give some deals out because I don't know. But the ones that kind of rise immediately to the top are ones that go, hey, Kyle, I'm looking for Charlotte, Greensboro, Greenville, South Carolina. I'm looking for, 20 to 100 units, trying to do a value add deal and kind of almost give me their story and their game plan of what they're looking for. And I immediately think in my head, like, oh, I know. Okay. I know what you're talking about. That's just very helpful, to kind of paint that story of what you're looking for. And I can kind of go through the list in my head and start narrowing down and filtering out what we have, how I can help you, and give a lot more, even better advice on how to go about if I don't have something, just in the future.
So, do you usually ask where is the money coming from? And can they qualify?
So
Because
yes,
obviously all your time is important.
absolutely. I mean, I could go through my buyer questionnaire that sometimes I will, do in a when we're actually having a deal to the market. But yeah, like I want to know where the money's coming from. I want to know if you're a syndicator. I want to know if it's family friends, if it's,
Mm.
I don't know, maybe you have just a wealthy uncle or you're wealthy, right? And it's just private, if it's your own money. Um, because it helps me understand where it's coming from. Have you done it before? Because if you haven't, okay, I'm not going to put you, down because of it, but it means I now know, how to go about the deal and how to navigate it to make sure it's a successful close for both parties, both the buyer and the seller. But if someone's done it before, we still make sure we do it, but we also know, okay, this person has experience. I don't have to hold the hand nearly as much. But we just want to see people successful. And so those questions, yeah, seeing where the money's coming from, see if who your lender is, you know, you know, do you have a, debt quote? Do you have, how much digging have you done into the deal because you just throwing an offer in without a debt quote or doing much, that paper's, or that offers, I don't say worthless, but it definitely is not as strong as someone that has really have you know their I's dotted and T's crossed.
So how often do you want to hear from a new buyer who's connected with you? Is it once a month? Are you reaching out? Are they calling you? Are you emailing? What's the kind of the cadence on that?
So I feel like I answer this question so many different times depending on, I don't know, how I'm feeling this day. um I will tell you this is you will never get an off market deal, or it's going to be hard. Even it's going to be hard to get an off market deal if you're not talking to brokers a fair amount, right? I mean, for us as brokers, we're trying to talk to sellers, guys that we feel like are about to sell once a month at least. Plus the other communication. If we feel like someone is maybe selling in a couple of years, then maybe it's like once a quarter. So I always view it as like, look at yourself. How are you feel like you're ready to buy a deal and you really, really want a deal in a market that brokers in? A once a month is absolutely fine. And I don't think, I mean, I tell people all the time is like, hey, you give me a call, I may or may not be able to answer because I'm busy, but I'll get back to you. And at least that voicemail even is a reminder that, oh yeah, like, do we have a deal for that, for him or her
Mhm.
right now? But if I don't hear from you, which a lot of times, I don't from a lot of people, we get an off market deal and it's really almost more like who's top of mind. And the amount of times,
Ah,
and I do laugh about this, and we actually had this happen 2 weeks ago. We had a deal that came in from a seller we knew, and we, as a team, we kind of talked about it. And a buyer, called me that morning and just kind of said, "Hey, I'm about to enter 1031. Just wanted to start, getting my feelers out." And I was like, I sent it to him. We're under LOI the next day.
wow.
So
That's
a
incredible.
lot of time, that's just one. We've had that happen. I've had that happen a good amount of times, enough where
Mm,
I tell people it's like sometimes it does come down to timing, right? Like,
mm,
who would have known? Because there's probably a hundred other times where someone calls, I just like, I don't have anything right now. But if you're not staying active and I think reaching out, especially as a buyer, it's going to be hard. And I know that sometimes it's challenging because I do it on, I almost do the same thing with sellers, right? Because sellers tend
sure.
to be more my clients, and sometimes I have to call them 5, 7 times to get in touch. But whenever I do that and they think about selling, they're giving me a call because at least they see my name on the phone, or we're texting, or we're doing something. I'm just top of mind. And I think as a buyer, realize that most investment sales brokers, I don't mean to put this negatively, but don't necessarily need you, right? So like they
Mhm.
do have buyers, they do have sellers, unless you have like an agreement with the broker on the buy side. But we
Mhm.
have a lot of buyers, and so you're competing with a good amount of people. And so how do you stand above that crowd? It's that constant communication
Mm.
of a cadence.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think it's really changed over the 10 years that you've been doing this, right? I mean, when we saw right after the what is it, Great Financial Crisis,
Yeah.
GFC, um, it was hard. It was like, okay, I'll take your call. And then
Yeah.
we got into the crazies of 18 to 22, right?
Yep.
Crazy. Kyle might not be calling you back. Now we're really changing. Again, what is the life of a broker today? How
Yeah.
it's changed. I bet you're doing more outbound calls. And would that be true?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ground and pound with sellers. Call it ground and pound, right? But it's that reaching out, yeah, phone calls, that warm and cold outreach, a lot. And um, we're also we do a lot of marketing, behind the scenes to sellers or to owners in the Carolinas. But yeah, no, it takes a lot more effort
So,
to get an opportunity in
so
the
let's talk
last two
about
years.
that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. I want to know what you're seeing today in terms of pricing. Where do you see? Because again, I'm nationwide. You're a little piece of my world.
Yeah.
We are seeing a lot of reduction. We're also seeing a lot of, the bid ask spread is still not there. So I want you to talk about that, where you see it going for your market.
Yeah. So in the Carolinas, it's one I feel like a lot of buyers want to be in, and sellers are happy to keep their asset. And so we have definitely seen that bid ask spread uh be substantial for a long time here. And when interest rates really shot up, what, back in 23, um, you know, it, it hurt a lot and it killed. I mean, I had 10 deals in 1 month that blew up and just
Yeah.
couldn't put it back together because sellers were just like, no, it's fine. I'll keep it. Or, hey, I want my 21 pricing. And I'll hold out and thinking it was going to be a quick turnaround. And it's just taking time. The last 2 years of, I think, sellers or owners here in the Carolinas to realize, okay, this is not going to be a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And some owners are fine keeping it. They go, you know what? All right, fine. It's hunker down. I'm going to keep it because you know what? I love the Carolinas, and I have, just I don't have a reason to sell. While others, loans come and due, or they want to retire, or their property headaches, or various other reasons. And those have been the ones without, they've been a little bit harder, but they're the ones coming around the quickest here in the last, I would say, 9 months, and have really turned a corner of, hey, you know what? I thought this was going to be a quick turnaround. I want to retire and get out. I want to sell. Or this deal is causing me so many headaches. I just, I want to do something else and willing to get rid of it. And so we're seeing that a lot more. With that said, they still want crazy pricing, and it's been really hard for us to, every time. I'm sure you guys look at a lot of deals and a lot of deals don't pencil. I probably see that times 10, because we don't even push a deal out unless we feel like it's somewhat close. And so we're having to filter through every owner that's sending us financials. We go through and be like, okay, how close are we from what you want to what we feel like we want? And it literally is. I mean, it's just everything's taking 10 times harder from that point and all the way even to close. But we can probably talk about that in a little bit.
I want to talk about that because there's so many people that are in the room that have underwritten deals and they're scratching their head saying, where's this broker coming up with this pricing? So could you give us the backstory of that, and how should we communicate to you, Kyle, this is ridiculous, or I'm only coming in at 14 and you're asking for 25. So what is the right way to approach that?
Yeah, well, I guess that's a couple things there, right? The reason why you're seeing it, quite frankly, a little bit is we don't know exactly. Sometimes we're trying a lot of these deals right now, or especially maybe 9 months ago, we knew we were trying to find a needle in a haystack buyer. Maybe someone within a need, 1031, needed to just really wanted to get into the Carolinas or whatever it may be. We knew it was hard and challenging, but we also were trying to help out and maybe just see, hey, is someone going to get close and maybe we can get a deal done. And the other thing we found out is, by doing that, especially in the last year and a half, these sellers have gotten tired. And instead of, when they're ready to sell, instead of saying, hey, go take it to the market, find me a buyer, they go, hey, you remember that guy that offered that we were kind of a little far off? Do you think he's still interested again? And so we've gone back and done a handful of deals this year doing that. I mean, it's been amazing actually to see, right? They did the effort, they put an offer in. They just kind of waited to see if the seller would end up accepting. As far as I think we still have a little bit of ways to go as far as finding I think we're doing a lot of price discovery still.
Price discovery. Yeah.
And I don't like admitting this because, again, I do have a decent amount of experience and I feel like I know the market. I should as a broker, but this has been the hardest. I probably the least amount of confidence I have in my own underwriting, my own understanding of the market, because the buyer pool and how they're looking at deals is so wide. And I mean, we're falling short on deals that I really love. And I'm just going,
Mm,
I don't understand how people, we have the right story. Everything makes sense, but guys, no one wants to take that leap and actually pursue it because of small reasons. And then we'll have a deal where I'm like, oh, this is gonna be challenging.
mm,
We get 3, 5 offers at or above what we're looking for, and I'm scratching my head going, I don't get it. I'm happy for my
mm,
client, but I just like it's really been a weird just understanding of that price discovery, what people, and again, sometimes it's a matter of a need, 1031, they just hit, but it's really hard versus I think a normal market, what you saw 3, 4, or 5 years ago, where things are steady Eddie. There's been plenty of sales comps. That's the other thing, us valuing deals right now.
yeah,
We're,
really
it's like,
challenging.
hey, can I look at a sales comp 3 years ago? Not really. Has there been a
Mm,
sales comp in the last 2 years in that same sub market? No.
maybe.
So we don't
Yeah,
know what, no, and I don't
yeah,
know, you don't know, no one knows what
really
it really is
challenging.
worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess going back to the question you asked, so if you are coming up short, um, I will always tell people is let me know why. If you're like, okay, am I missing something? Hey, Kyle, what am I missing here? Why are you valuing it here? I would love to get on the phone and chat. I'd love to have those conversations and go through underwriting with you
Mm,
and kind of see, okay, like how are you looking at this deal? And it helps me understand you too. Because if you are
mm,
coming up short and saying, hey, this is how I'm looking at it, this is how I'm underwriting it, I go, okay. And then I mentally put you in a block. Like, okay, you're looking for cash flow, you're looking for IRR. Like, how are you viewing things?
mhm,
And I've done that with a couple people. Sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5+ deals, but by the time that fifth one, I feel like we're almost dating and I get one across my desk. I go, oh, this guy or this girl, like I know how they underwrite. This is going to be a good deal for
mhm,
them.
mm. So
And
it's
but
very
it's
insightful.
yeah, it's that feedback, right? It's that
Yeah, that's great.
feedback, and it helps us too to understand like how are you looking at it? How's the market looking at it? And I may be one of the few brokers that, you know, I I like feedback because it makes me better.
Mm,
It makes me, someone, maybe I'm a little bit of a debater too, right? So, you know, I,
mm,
but I will also amend mistakes. Like, hey, if someone, I mean, I actually had a deal recently. Someone's like, I don't understand. Like, this is how I'm looking at it. I go, oh, I mess up on a key aspect of the underwriting. I was
mm,
way too aggressive upfront on some growth. No, that's not going to make sense. And I don't do that I mean, that was the first time I ever got caught that mistake. And we just missed it
mm.
between me, analyst, and another broker. Um, but that was very insightful for us. And thankfully it was off
Yeah.
market, so it didn't matter. But that's helpful.
Yeah, I think that's a really encouraging statement to reach out to your broker and have those conversations, and see if they're open to it. Do you want feedback? Here's why I'm looking at it. Can we sit down? Can we talk about this? Because a lot of people come to me and I provide them with the quote for financing, and it comes in, let's say 50, 55%. Returns are not going to be great on that, right? So the higher the leverage, the better the returns. So a lot of people will say, do you think I should go back to the broker? And I'm always saying, yes, I think that's a very wise idea. Instead of just walking away and say it doesn't work, I think, Kyle, you really encouraged us to do that. And I think it's wise not just to go to Kyle, but to go to the others in other markets. I think that's very, very good idea. So how's your inventory, would you say, now in the Carolinas?
As far as potential transaction volume or just
Correct. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about your inventory that you see up for sale, right? Number
yep.
two, how about the new inventory? How is that impacting your deals as well?
Okay. I actually would rather start there and then I'll tell you about what I see
Okay.
here in the future as far as
Please. Yeah.
future transaction volume. Um, we are getting, I'm trying to not use such a harsh word, but we are feeling a very strong impact of the supply that's been happening here in the Carolinas over the last 2, 3 years. Um, it's not every market, but it is the bigger markets or the ones that people are moving to. So a Charlotte, we have 30,000 units in the pipeline. Raleigh, very similar. Charleston, Myrtle Beach, weirdly enough, a big percentage of their pipeline, 20% of their inventory is currently being constructed. Asheville's a little bit similar too. So it's just been a matter of when money was cheap and easy back in 21, 22, a lot of these deals got penciled and started. And now we have a little bit of an oversupply issue in these, a lot of the markets here in the Carolinas. And it has caused an impact because rent growth is negative, first time in a long time. People are, and it's kind of a trickle down because if A is starting to be like, okay, we can't push the rents as high, we're offering 2. We've seen 3-month concessions. We've seen some 3-month concession with, I feel like maybe a bag full of money. I don't know, but they're doing whatever it takes to fill it because a lot of these developers and owners can't give above occupancy thresholds they really need. And so that's causing a lot of people in the B and C. I mean, C is sometimes a little harder because of the rent gap, but especially B to move into Class A. And then the C's, then obviously the C's move into B. And so we're having this shift and we're seeing negative rent. We're seeing the occupancy go down on average down to, about 90% here in Charlotte, but it's happening elsewhere in other markets in the Carolinas. And so the markets that are the healthiest are the ones that actually have very limited supply right now in the Carolinas. And the ones that have a lot of supply in the pipeline are seeing a lot of weakening, and rent growth, being negative. With that said, we still have a lot of people moving here. And all these deals are going to be finished. Most of them will be at the end of this or next year and then of 2025. And then there's like nothing new for the next 2 years after that. And then I feel like we're going to find equilibrium and then things are going to settle out across the board. Then I feel like vacancy is going to get back to normal. And we'll be on I think a healthy run in about 18 months or so. But right now we're in this little, I'm not gonna use storm right now just because of what's happening in Western North Carolina, but we're in a tight or a little bit of kind of a slowdown.
I do think though, we're at a great time to be purchasing because of the basis, right? I mean, people are in some of these assets where they put bridge on, they can't afford to stay in it any longer. I think the basis is amazing. And I think if we wait till 2026, we're going to miss that.
Exactly. I've been saying this really since the beginning of this year. And I think I'll say it again because we have what we're seeing from the buyer pool's perspective, we are seeing on average, I think it's about 30, I forget, we did the numbers. It's about 30% of the buyer pool is still active to compare to where it was like kind of right at the peak or right before things, the first interest rate increase.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So your competition as a buyer is drastically lower. In some deals, it could be even 10% of what it would be. And so like I would take a deal in the market and I would have no concern about getting 30 offers. No concern. Today, a lot of these deals I'm concerned about just being able to get 10% or 10 offers. And I don't know where it's going to come in at. So as a buyer, I think right now, if you can find a way for a deal to hit your number, that or returns you need, I think you're going to look back in 3-4 years and say, I wish I would have bought more.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah. Good.
I was going to say about, how long are these deals taking to close? Because that's been some of our challenges with lending. There's the equity piece is really, really the challenge. We also see deferred maintenance being who's going to pay for that. So, and there's that, discrepancy like, hey, somebody's got to give here. So how long are you saying? And Paula says 6 months. I just closed a deal yesterday. It took us 6 months, which used to be a long period of time.
Yeah. I will tell you that I'm almost less concerned about the time frame and more concerned if it's just going to close.
Mm,
Um, every deal is I call it, I'm riding a wild bronco to the closing table.
mm.
There are so many things, Julie, and everybody, that a deal can fall apart on us for. I mean, I have a bingo card of ways that deals have fallen apart on us this year. I had to work 10 times harder. I had to get 10 more deals in our pipeline to get the same amount of deals closed. And it's kind of frustrating as a broker because it's like you do all the upfront work and it's things out of my control. And quite frankly, a lot of times it's things out of the buyer's control or the seller's
Sure.
control. It is 3 days before closing, the insurer just says, "Oh, we're not insuring on multifamily apartments across the nation anymore. Sorry." And then
Amazing.
if we don't close it within 2 week time frame, the lender then has to go back, and we were under the gun for that. We've had loan terms change. We've had partnership disputes. Just we on the seller side, right before
Oh,
we get under
yeah.
contract, LPGP don't agree on something on their end. They go, "No, we're not going to do the deal. We got to figure out our own stuff first." And you're going, "Okay, you just spent 30 grand on attorney's fees, and yet this is more important." Okay, it was serious.
Wow.
And I was actually trying to write down a list of them. I mean, you said deferred maintenance. We've had a lot of operation
Mm,
issues that have caused, and so yeah, I, I'm I'm gonna look forward. I'm looking forward to when things get back to normal, but I always like learn some hard lessons and things where I did think could kill deals have killed deals this year. Or
mm,
yeah. Um, and so yeah, time frame, it's longer. I just as a broker, I've kind of set that expectation a little bit as far as with my clients on the sell side. Um, and for me, I'm just quite frankly just being like, okay, do we have our ducks in a row, and just always looking at both the buyer, seller, like, do we have our ducks in a row? How, and managing the process as best I can to make sure we can get a closed transaction. And I mean, it's funny because in 21, 22, or even before then, 18, 19, 20, like you could not win a deal because your closing time frame was 60 days. And
mhm.
another buyer came in and said, I'll close
Yeah.
in 45.
Yeah.
Now it's almost like, I don't care if
I
you
can
offer
close in 6
90,
months.
just give me a guarantee you're gonna close, right?
Yeah. And even and then you can't. This
Yeah,
deal I
exactly.
closed on Monday yesterday, the
Yeah,
GP died in the middle of the transaction. So
you
you
know,
just never know what's going to
you,
happen. So,
you never know. And we just got a portfolio under contract here today, um, from a 1031 buyer from California.
oh,
And quite frankly, the only reason why I think the buyer or the seller accepted it was, um,
surety of close.
it literally closing in 35 days because it's going to be all
Yeah,
cash. And
it
he
has
goes,
to
"I
be.
don't need a
Yeah.
loan." He's already seen the property. He goes,
Mm,
let's just actually, we can probably close in 20 days. And I'm going,
yeah.
okay, this kind of reminds me back what 18, 19 felt like, it's just a matter of the quickness of close. But um, yeah, but that's a rarity right now. Right now, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
and and I'll go back to the other question before you asked about the kind of inventory coming up. I think we've been inundated with the amount of underwriting. July, we've averaged about a BOV every day, which is really
Yeah. Mm,
strong. August was about every other day. But here we are, October 1st, and none of those sellers have, well, not none, but 90% of them haven't made a decision yet, and probably will end up pushing off till next year. Um, we do have about
mm,
4 or 5 deals coming to the market, most likely. So we are still getting deals done. We're about to take a handful of deals out to the market here soon. But sellers are still pushing out. They're kind of like, "Hey, I'm gonna finish my
mhm,
business plan. If I don't have to sell right now, let's do that." Um, so I'm seeing 2025 as like we're preparing here. I'm actually about to hire another broker,
mm.
and maybe an analyst, because I'm seeing 2025 as a pretty big year. Now that big year could really be more a matter of just getting back to normal transaction volume, right?
Shuffling and yeah,
Exactly. But compared to the
yeah.
last 18 months,
We're
2 years,
grateful, right?
it's going to look like a tsunami wave. Like, oh wow,
You mean I can't go golfing every day? No.
yeah. Yeah, I don't do that. I haven't golfed that forever, but now I'm really not. I might as well just stop
Yeah.
playing golf in general.
All right, Kyle, we talked about doing what's the deal? So you've got two deals that are hitting the market.
Yeah,
Are you able to, I think I'd like to go through the second one, the red rose. Are you
yeah.
able to talk about that one?
So I can talk about that one. I wanted to get the OM, and I know I was telling you last week. I wanted to. We're still waiting for updated financials. So sorry, one I was going to
Yes.
tell you offline, but we should have those we thought today, but tomorrow maybe, and then the OM's getting prepared. So that will be going to the market next week. But I can talk about it,
Yeah,
and
let's talk about it. I think if there's people in the room, they'd
yeah,
love to hear about it.
yeah. So we are about to take out a 32 unit deal in the Charlotte MSA. It's in Lancaster County, which is in South Carolina on the south side of Charlotte. It's all 2 bedrooms, and the owner actually bought this deal a little over a year ago. Has pushed rents $333. Re-tenanted about half the tenants with good quality tenants. Pushed rents, obviously, did renovation, so it's like a proven value add deal. What I really like about it though, besides there's still $250 more you can actually do in the value add from classic units, and then probably another 100 from partially renovated. The market and where it's located at is in Lancaster. There is such a demand in this city, in this county. We've been talking to all the owners, all the property managers in the area, and we said, hey, like, do you have any units available? They said no. When's the next time you're going to have a unit available? I don't know, 18 months, 24 months. We stopped having a wait list. You're going to have to go look up closer to Charlotte, to even find a unit. And at the same time, there is a medical center 2 miles away from the property, USC Lancaster, that has about 2,000 students, actually a little more than 2,000 students there. You have a credit union corporate headquarters about 2 miles away. You have all these kind of like jobs, employers, and nurses have to live 20, 30 minutes away because they can't find any housing. And so there's a big supply demand gap. And so the last 2 years, rents in this area have actually, in 2023, they went up 12.5%. This year, they've gone up about 8.5%. And they're expected to keep kind of going at that pace, which right now as a whole, it's negative. But because of the
Right.
lack of supply in this area, it just keeps rising. And I think it's a great deal for somebody to be in the Charlotte MSA. 32 units, you're looking at, here's the other thing I love, about 85,000 a door, let's call it. You don't get many deals under 100,000 a unit in Charlotte, especially Charlotte MSA. You just don't. And so, there's a lot of attractive features with it, and I can go on and on, but it's definitely someone that wants to be value add driven, that can push the appreciation by, continuing the value add plan, but wants to be in the Charlotte MSA and in the fastest growing county in the Charlotte MSA, and anywhere from the second to the fourth fastest in the state of South Carolina.
Yeah, so the question came, what do you like about this deal? And I think what you said is that the rent growth is spectacular because of the supply. So would you agree with that? That's what
Yeah,
you like
I
about the
mean,
deal.
it's one of those where there's really no supply coming in.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's the fastest growing market, literally in the fastest in Charlotte, fastest in the state of South Carolina, and more jobs keep coming in, and they can't develop. It's hard for them to develop because where construction costs are and everything else. And so this BC class just keep getting pushed, and rents just keep going higher, and there's still 800 to 1,000, about $800 rent delta between where this property will be after renovations to where Class A deals. So there's a huge gap still to push.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what year construction is this?
So it's well, this is kind of a rarity where we still are waiting to confirm it. It's gonna be early 70s. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So it is 70s, it is older, but it is a brick building. It's been well kept, put it that way.
So-
New windows, newer roofs, like, yeah, all the systems are pretty good.
So your guidance is right around 2.8. Am I right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And we took a look at it from a lending perspective. The economic vacancy was about 12%. So still acceptable, right, for agency. And we're coming in about 65%. Now, over time, again, this was aged receivables, financials. So, you know, I think it was that February? I can't remember.
No,
What-
that
or
was
were they
actually
June?
that was the other deal. This one was probably July.
Okay,
And so we're
okay.
about to get the last 2 months, and the rent
Yes.
roll has gone up, I think, 3 or 4,000.
Okay,
Everything's just improved night and day, even since the
okay.
last 2
So,
months.
yeah, so our look at it was 65% on the old financials. So, I mean, it's promising from a lending perspective. So,
Yeah.
All right. So listen, I mean, if somebody in the room or somebody who's listening to this on YouTube wants to get a hold of Kyle Chase with K Chase Incorporated or and Company, how do they do that? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I say I can give you. I don't know if anyone still does this, but I have like a Bitly link that I have where you can either join my email list, you can schedule a call with me. I have my LinkedIn, my Twitter, you name it, you want to follow me, it's all in one page. With that said, there's a contact us. I'd say definitely as a buyer, you can go to kchase.com and sign up for future deals. That's probably the quickest and first thing I would do. Because then you'll get all of our future deals. And then secondly, connect me with LinkedIn, and then, happy to schedule a call with you as well to just see how we can help you here. Because I do feel like 2025, here, I'm about to send you my link so you can kind of figure out which way you want to contact me. I do feel like 2025 is going to be a big year. I think it's going to be a great time still to buy.
Fantastic. Now, old school, before we open it up to everybody in the room, if somebody was trying to get your attention to be the right buyer for the right thing and wanted to say, I got to get Kyle a bottle of wine, a dinner, what would that look like? What would somebody want to do for you to get your attention?
It's a great question. It reminds me of Giftology. There's a book called
Yeah.
Giftology that I remember reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm big into golf. Like,
Okay.
I don't care if it's golf balls, you name it, or I love a whiskey, I love wine. I probably drink my sorrows away the last 2 years, so there's a lot of that going on.
So we got an alcoholic upon us here.
Yeah, sorry, I'll admit it. No, but yeah, that's probably that's it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. I love it. All right. Well, let's open it up. Ask your questions. How often do you get into the room with somebody as charismatic as Kyle and who will spend a minute answering your question? You don't have to, you could even send me anonymous if you have a question, if you're scared to ask. But please ask the question. Someone else maybe in the room might have the same question for you as you do.
Yeah, I got a question, Kyle.
Yeah.
So have you ever had any of your potential buyers send you Loom videos of their underwriting? I've sent out a couple last week, and it seems like it was well received by the buyers, but I've gotten mixed responses from other people. So, what are your thoughts?
No one has done that yet. With that said, I would love it. We're actually working on doing some Loom videos for some deals we're about to launch, just because I'm trying to reduce, and I'm working on a delicate balance between being able to talk to everybody while also not working 20 hours a day. And so we're actually going to do a Loom video as far as me just, describing and explaining the deal and send that out. Just to maybe get people kickstarted and then kind of schedule a call after that if someone's interested. I think I would love it because I sometimes can be really hard to get a hold of, just because it is so busy. I'm talking to sellers, I'm pushing deals, but I do a lot of that when my kids go down at night, when I spend about an hour with them before bed at night. I would love to be able to do it at night and then send you an email or, hey, let's schedule a call to actually go in the details of it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Great
Okay,
question, Eric. I love it.
great. Yeah, thank you.
I have a
Anybody
question.
else? Yeah.
How was the hurricane affected properties?
Good question.
Verdict. Well, one, I think the verdict's still out. I mean, it's been hard to even get over. I mean, Asheville, people could get in or out, and really until I think Monday, they finally started opening it right when the water, maybe it's Tuesday. I think we're not going to know. We don't know still the greater impact of it. With that said, we've had flooding here in some Charlotte deals. Just because some dams broke on Lake Norman and deals that aren't in flood zone got impacted. They're going to have to, first floor was, anywhere from a couple inches up to, I think one, I heard 12 inches. So it's going to have an impact. Obviously going to displace some people, insurance claims. I think right now I'm just so focused on just hopefully it's not as bad as what I'm hearing firsthand, and that, death toll doesn't get outrageous. But taking a step back from that, I think insurance is always something, because insurance already has gone sky high, 3x probably what it was a couple years ago. But I do feel like if there's so many deals that have got destroyed, I mean, I know several over in Asheville, they do. I mean, it's just going to have demand, it's going to be hard to keep, it's hard to do supply, build something in 18 months or so. And there's still a lot of demand, but I also worry about that area because it's tourist industry. And if it's going to take a while for people to come over, there's a lot to unpack there. I just know we just don't know the full impact yet. So that's probably where I'm kind of sitting here being like, I can't give you a straight answer because we're just still trying to find ways to get up there to help people.
Yeah, very fair. Praying for you and your community.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. That's great. Anyone else? Paula,
So
you usually have an answer.
I think your takeaway from people trying to contact you and kind of connect initially for a deal was just stay consistent, right? You may not answer right away or whatever, but I think I heard you say that sometimes it's just the right time, right place when somebody contacts you for a deal, and then it just happens to be there at the top of the list, right?
That's exactly right. If you've ever been in sales, I almost consider you guys sales. I think everyone's a salesman at the end of the day. Sure. I think that's what you are to us, and just kind of keep reaching out, and don't be offended if we don't get back to you. It's not a matter of we don't like you. It's just sometimes a matter of we don't have anything or something doesn't match. But every time I get a voicemail or email even, just kind of mix it up. Like the name immediately tends to rise, right? I mean, we have 20,000 people in our database. So, how are you standing out from one of 20,000? And there's people I haven't talked to in probably 4 or 5 years. I don't even know if they're active. They still get my emails. I kind of see it. but it's the guys that kind of call me once a month or twice a month.
Mm.
Well, I will more likely call them, or definitely will call them over the guy I haven't talked to in 3-4 months because I don't know he's active. He doesn't own anything either, so I don't really have a reason to give him a call. But like, yeah, think about that. Your salesman, stay in front, and if they don't answer back, it's nothing personal. It's just you know, and then if they have a deal you want to pursue or you're interested in, that's I think your time to shine and provide that underwriting feedback and at least talk to him once or twice about it, because that underwriting feedback is tremendous, and that's another way to sell yourself a little bit more.
Well, and of course, if you have the golf balls, the golf tournament tickets, you know, those are always helpful. I'm just saying.
Yeah, a golf bag full of whiskey. Got it.
That's you got it there, Randy. Careful, he's going to be looking for it coming from Randy Funk. There you go.
Well,
Well-
I will tell you, if anyone golfs, shoot me an email, because we do have we have our own little K-Chase golf balls. I will send it to you. So you email me and you tell me you're a golfer, I will send you golf balls to you.
Wow, that is fantastic. I don't necessarily do the same, but give it to Kyle and he'll get that for you. So Kyle, this has been great. I really have enjoyed having you here. I think it's been super insightful for everybody. Sometimes it's just unpacking the most simple things for new people, and also just refreshing the people that are, gosh, they're kind of down because it's been underwriting after underwriting and it doesn't work. But just to hear from your side,
Yeah.
things are picking up, things are looking better, right? So
Yeah.
I thank you so much.
We're all in this together. We're all in this together, and you know, just keep at it.